Spring 1945. The war in Europe was drawing to a close, but one final, monumental prize remained. Berlin. This wasn't just any city. It was the dark heart of the Third Reich, the place where Hitler was making his last stand, and the ultimate symbol of total victory. As the Allied forces pushed from the west and the massive Soviet Red Army advanced from the east, a race began. But this race wasn't just about military strategy. It was about pride, politics, and who would hold the power in the post-war world. Berlin's strategic importance. Capturing it meant more than just winning a battle. It meant crushing the Nazi regime and dictating the future of Europe. The Western Allies, under the command of General Eisenhower, had made incredible progress, sweeping across France and deep into Germany. But as they neared Berlin, they paused. Why? The decision was complex. At the Yalta Conference, it had already been agreed that Berlin would fall within the Soviet zone of occupation. Eisenhower, focused on minimizing casualties, saw no strategic need to sacrifice his soldiers for a city that was already politically promised to the Soviets. Stalin, however, had a completely different perspective. He was driven by a burning desire to capture the Nazi capital himself. He gave a simple, brutal order to his top commander, Marshal Zhukov: take Berlin and do it at any cost. The scale of the Soviet assault was staggering. Over 2.5 million soldiers, 6,000 tanks, and 40,000 artillery pieces were unleashed. It was a force of almost unimaginable power, setting the stage for one of history's most ferocious and bloody battles. On April 16th, the Battle of Berlin began. The fighting was savage. The Soviets faced a desperate, fanatical defense. Every street, every building, every pile of rubble was contested by the last remnants of the German army, including hardened SS units and even young boys from the Hitler Youth. The Red Army suffered enormous losses, but their advance was relentless. On April 30th, realizing all was lost, Hitler took his own life deep within his bunker. Just 2 days later, Soviet soldiers hoisted their flag over the ruins of the Reichstag, an image that would become one of the most iconic photographs of the entire war. When the first American and British troops finally entered the city, the race was long over. They were met by Soviet soldiers in a city that was little more than a graveyard of shattered buildings. The battle was won, but the consequences were only just beginning to unfold. The division of Berlin between the victorious powers' American, British, French, and Soviet sectors sowed the seeds of the next global conflict. What was once a unified city became the epicenter of the Cold War, a place divided by ideology, and eventually by a physical wall. The race for Berlin didn't just end a war, it started a new, colder one. Thanks for watching. If you found this piece of history interesting, please give us a like and subscribe for more stories from the past. See you next time.